Anna, welcome to the Taste Toast Travel podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you. When we kind of first started corresponding and I learned more about your story, I was like, I was so excited to hear about how you have transitioned to a new country. I don't want to give away too much of your story. I want you to tell it, but I think so many people here listening could be really interested in what you have to say in terms of, of course, traveling through your 20s and all of the wonderful experiences you've had, but also quitting your 9 to 5 and all of that and like making that leap. That's a big deal and that's, hard for some people to do. There's like the safety there and all of everything, but it gives you such freedom too. So I'm excited to dive into that with you today. But first, just welcome to the podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here because I just love to talk all things travel, and I feel like there's not everybody likes to enjoy talking about travel. It's a broad thing, but it also is like really niche with like people who actually like want to engage with the conversation as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like always here to talk about it. So I'm happy to
I
do
love
so.
it. Yeah, it's so transformative and sure there's parts of it that can be very stressful, but I feel like the pros outweigh the cons in so many ways. So with that being said, let's start. I want to start with your travels in your 20s because I know it sounds like you've had some amazing experiences. And what I would really love to hear from you is that transition of you had mentioned, like, quitting that 9 to 5 to it sounds like backpack around the world. So, can you start us off there and kind of just tell us about that? What prompted you to do that? And also where you went because I'm dying to know. Hey, friends, welcome to the Taste Toast Travel Podcast. We're your hosts and resident foodies and lovers of all things travel and exploration.
Grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and enjoy the journey with us.
Yes. Yeah, so I didn't even take my first trip, like, I didn't even go on an airplane for the first time until I was
Wow.
21, and that was actually going out of the country for the first time. That was me flying to
Oh,
Paris, like, did my first Euro trip, and after that so I was working as a bank teller when I did that, and that was, like, the best and worst thing to do because I was like, "Okay, I love to travel," but I was like, "I get 10 days of vacation a year, so, like, that's how am I gonna do this?" And, basically after that, it, like, just I was like, being with it was my then boyfriend at the time, but now he's my husband, and, with all of his family, he's from Germany, all his family lives in Europe, and we both were working corporate America jobs, and, he kind of had brought it up first and was like, I know people who have done this and who have backpacked around the world, like, it was more common over there in Europe for when people, like, graduate from college, they don't get a job right away. They, like, take some time off and they travel or they do whatever they wanna do, and then they go into the corporate world, and
amazing.
that was, like, not my case at all. Like, I was working full time while I was in school full time, so, like, I just didn't have that mindset and that
Yeah.
mentality, and then, like, getting to travel more for these small trips that I got to do, I was like, "Okay, I think this is possible," and so we, like, built this plan of how we were gonna do this, and so I, like, started telling my friends and family, and they thought I was, like, completely crazy, and so, like, we started this plan in, like, December, but, like, he went ahead and quit his job and left right
Oh my
away, and
gosh.
I was like, "I need some time to figure this out," so, like, I didn't join until February or until
Okay.
April, so I really didn't there really wasn't much of a, like, time frame to get, prepared in the sense of you think, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna quit your job and backpack around the world for 9 months," that, like, you need some time to prepare,
Oh
but,
my
like,
god.
I kinda just, like, did it and was like, "If this is gonna happen, I need to do it while I'm thinking about it," because I felt like if I had too much time to prepare, it just wasn't gonna
Yeah.
happen.
No, it does. Like
Yeah.
you could almost like make excuses or there's always gonna be some reason. Like, again, my husband and I and he has Italian citizenship, he wasn't, like, born there or anything, but we talk about that a lot, and we were recently having a conversation, I was like, "If we're ever gonna, like, take this leap, we need to, like, put a time frame on it. We have to, like, kinda give ourselves a deadline," and it's like we have a daughter too, so I'm just like, I can't be completely irresponsible, but it's like we need to almost, like, change our mindset of, like, this is happening, and it's happening then, and we need to
Mm.
get our ish together by that date. That's our drop dead. It's
Yeah.
happening, right? So that's amazing. Like good for it's kind of like ready or not, like it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think I was 23, 22 or 23 when we left to do that.
Mhm.
So, like, it was, like, a year or 2 in between from when I took my first really, like, big vacation to where I was like, "Okay, I'm just, like, gonna go travel around the world and, like, at that because also my friends and family, like, I'm someone who everyone was so concerned about how I was gonna fit all my stuff in a backpack, like, that was the big thing because I'm, like, such a girly girl, like, I love makeup, I love doing my hair, I love clothes, all these things, and, like, that was something I was stressed about as
Yeah.
well, but I was like, "That's not gonna keep me from going and having all these experiences because, like, I can't have a hairdryer, like, that's
Right.
not." It was a concern, but it wasn't but, like, for a lot of people, that would
That's a
be an excuse and a
almost make
reason
or
as
break
to why you
it.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so you said you left in April? Or okay, so what
Mhm.
happened tell me what happened after that. How did that
Yeah, so I we started in South America,
Oh,
so I
okay.
flew from Cincinnati and we started in Peru. So, we started in Lima and we went, all through South America, and then we just, like, made our way from there around, and I will say I probably didn't have the best planning, the little planning that I had because I, like, totally just I didn't think about weather at all, so I had packed as if everywhere was gonna be summer, and it was not summer, like, anywhere that we
Oh my
went, so
god.
I just kept having to buy new
Oh my gosh.
clothes everywhere where we were.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay, can you just quickly like, talk to me about how Peru was? Because that keeps coming up in my orbit a lot lately, and it sounds incredible. So, you were in Peru, and then you went to other countries from there, or was, like, mostly Peru?
Yeah, we were in, so we were in Peru and Bolivia and Chile and
Wow.
Argentina in South America, but we spent the most of our time in Peru. We were there for about a month and loved it. I would say out of everywhere that we went on that trip, Peru was what stands out to me as somewhere that I absolutely loved and would want to go back
Oh
to.
my god. It's high on my list. It really is. And then did you make it to Machu Picchu or yeah, was
Yes,
that
yes.
incredible?
It was great, but, like, the altitude sickness is totally real
Yeah,
that people say, and I think that's why we had, like, gone so slow with our travel there, was, like, we were how we had planned it was, like, each city we went to was, like, up and up and up with
yeah,
altitude, and then by the time we got to Cusco, like, I think we were in Cusco for honestly, like, a week before we did Machu Picchu to, like, adjust
smart.
to the altitude of Cusco before you ever even go up to Machu Picchu.
Yeah, that's intense. Oh my god. Is there any, like, tips for anyone listening here who might be either wanting to go to South America or, like, backpacking specifically? Is there, like, one tip other than it sounds like packing just accordingly for weather that you would have or, like, something you would maybe do differently if you did it again?
I think you need to be flexible and, like, really try not like, you can't plan it out the whole thing to do.
Yeah,
Like, for the scale that we did it, where we were like, "We wanna go around the world," and, like, I am such a type A planner. I was like, before we were leaving, I, like, had a map of the world, and I'm, like, trying to map out, "Okay, this month we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here, and then these are the cities we're gonna go
wow.
to." But then while you're traveling, you're meeting other people and talking to other people, and they're like, "Oh, I like this city, I didn't like this place," and then you just, like, learn different travel hacks, and, like, that plan that I had,
Out
that
the
did not
window.
happen
Yeah,
whatsoever, and I like, now I'm totally fine with that, but I think you just need to be, like, I guess, open, to talking and meeting other people and hearing other people's experiences because I think you can't stay, like, too
yeah.
rigid in your plan, you have to be
Great
flexible.
point. Yeah, and it is hard for the type A's out there, it's like, or you have something kind of in mind, or it brings kind of almost a sense of comfort to know, like, okay, this is where especially if it's very unfamiliar territory or a new country or whatever. But I would agree, like in any travels I've had, just yeah, the openness is a big
Mhm.
one. And you never know like what experiences or whatever could come up, like, that's where I think I've had some of, like, my coolest off the beaten path type of things is, like, being open to that and not, sticking too hard,
Yes.
to the plan.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and, like, there were even some places that we went to that we didn't like, and we were like, "Okay, let's up and leave here, and let's go to this other
Right.
city," and if we had been so strict with our itinerary and a schedule and things, we wouldn't be able to just be like, "Okay, let's, cancel the rest of our nights here at this hostel and go to this other place."
Yeah. That was okay, great kinda segue. I was just gonna ask, did you guys mostly stay at hostels or, like, where were you?
Yeah, it was, hostels and
Okay,
Airbnbs.
cool. What was the Airbnb situation like down there? Was it pretty, like, readily available
Um
or
I think where we did Airbnb the most was actually in Australia, I feel
Okay.
like. Like, Australia and New Zealand, we definitely did most
Mhm.
Airbnbs, but when we were in, I'd say, South America and Asia, it was
Yeah,
hostels, and even in Asia, there were some, like, hotels that we stayed at, but, like, the hotels over there, it's not like we were in a Hilton or
right.
anything, it's, like, small mom and pop, owned places.
Amazing. Okay, so you just said you also did Australia and New Zealand, and it sounds like Asia too. So you had mentioned you did this for 9 months, correct? Okay,
Mhm.
so you did
Yes.
South America first? Right? Okay.
Yes, South America first, and then we actually went to and this how this happened was because we were talking to somebody and our original plan was to go from South America, and we were gonna fly from, Chile and then fly to New Zealand, and I just, like, kept dreading that flight. I was like, "That's just gonna be awful. What else can we do?" And then we were talking to this guy on a bus one time, and he was like, "Oh, yeah," like, he was doing that same route, and he was like, "But I'm stopping in Easter Island, and then I'm stopping in Tahiti, and then I'm going to New
Wow.
Zealand." And we were like, "How are you doing that? Like, that's gotta be super expensive. Like, those places aren't cheap, and we're on backpackers'
Yeah.
budgets." And he, like, showed us how he booked it, and it was even cheaper than if we were gonna fly just from Chile direct to New
Wow.
Zealand. So then we went from Chile, we went to Easter Island, and then we went to
Oh my
Tahiti, and then we went to New Zealand and Australia and did Asia. So that's another thing to where I was like, if we weren't open to that, then, like, I wouldn't have been able to see those other 2 awesome places that I probably will never see again because they are remote and difficult to
Yes.
get
Oh
to.
my god, I can imagine, but Easter Island, I mean, these are places, they're bucket list items, and Tahiti, oh my gosh,
Yes.
probably so beautiful. How did you get there? How was it tell me your secret, like, how was it so cheap?
Yeah, I don't know, it was, like, the certain day that you went
Okay.
for these flights, like, I feel like it was, like, some, like, random Tuesday flight that, like, only happens once a week or something, it
Yeah.
was, like, the way that you booked it,
Okay.
and my husband works in the airline business,
Oh,
so
that's
he's, like,
nice.
all into the flights and stuff, so, like, he was coordinating with this guy to see what his schedule was to where we made that happen, then it, like, followed then from the flight that you took from Easter Island to Tahiti also was on a certain day that you
Right.
needed it was, like, all of the ducks had to be
Yeah.
in a perfect row to make that
Oh
happen.
my god. What how incredible, though, and okay, so you go from there, and then you said to Australia from there?
So
Or
from Tahiti,
New
we went to New
Zealand, right,
Zealand,
okay.
and then New Zealand to Australia,
Okay, and
yeah.
how were both of those? Because those are also on our list. I would say maybe New Zealand even, like, a little bit higher just because it just
Mhm.
looks incredible, but how are those?
They were awesome, and I love both of those countries so much, and I say to my husband all the time, if we were to move anywhere outside of Europe, I would wanna move
Yeah,
there to New Zealand or to Australia, but, like, I would have to be okay with the fact that we would never have visitors because people no one from the US or from Europe is gonna take take that flight
it's
down there,
tough.
but
Yeah,
like, everywhere that out of everywhere that we went, those were the places where I was like, I could see myself
like,
living
actually
here. It
settling.
was
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, I can see why. Okay, and then from there you went to Asia? Okay, so where in
Yes.
Asia?
We did, I guess mostly Southeast
Okay.
Asia. So then from Australia, we went to
Oh,
Bali, and then we went to Malaysia and Thailand, and then Vietnam was our last stop. And then from there, we went back to Europe.
oh my god, and back to Germany, which we will get to in a second, but yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Any tips, any big takeaways from any of those? Any of those that you just mentioned that you would, like, highly recommend going to, or anything in there that is, like, really worth doing if somebody were to wanna go to one of those countries?
Yeah, I would say Vietnam is where surprised me the most. Like I didn't have that on my
Yeah.
radar at all. And out of everywhere that we went to, like I had thought like I was mostly excited to go to Bali and we had planned to go there on my birthday and I was like, I'm going to be in Bali on my birthday
Such a
and I thought
vibe.
it was going to be the best thing ever. And it actually ended up being the place that I liked the least. And then we got to Vietnam and I like had no expectations there and I was like Vietnam is awesome. Like
Wow.
the food was great, like the scenery and the landscape was great and everywhere everyone that we met who was local was great, like, we loved it there so much.
Wow. Oh my gosh. These have all been on our list. I don't know if you've ever watched or if you watch it frequently, Top Gear with, like, Jeremy Clarkson and all the
Oh,
okay, so
yes.
John and I are
Yeah.
like we love that show. We'll watch reruns occasionally because it's ended now and it's so sad. But we've seen and this is like other travel shows too, but, like, we've seen those locations on those shows and just wow, just culturally, like, such a shock, but in, like, the best way, and also just
Mhm.
so picturesque, some of it too, and just yeah, looks incredible. Are there any,
Yeah.
um, particular cities in those that you would go to or anything you would, like, steer clear of or really just kinda be open to
Um,
exploring?
I don't know. I would say be open to
Yeah,
exploring. I mean, because this happened at this point, like, 10 years ago, so I
things
feel
could have
like
shifted
what
since
how
then.
we experienced
Yeah.
it well, not 10 years. I actually just figured this out the other day. I think it was, like, 7 years
Mhm.
ago at this point, but so almost 10 years
Yeah.
ago, but I feel like there are times where I'm on Instagram and these places are, like, starting to pop
Yeah.
up, and they are so much more touristy than, like, where it
Yeah,
was when we went, and
great
so
point.
I feel like where we went that was, like, off the beaten path is
Not off the
now
beaten path
probably
anymore.
places where, yeah, like, is more touristy, but the one thing I discovered was that anywhere that's, like, worth seeing and everybody talks about as this awesome place, those are, like, the worst places to get to. Like, with Machu Picchu, I had no idea the things that you have to do to get
It's
there. It's like the whole Instagram versus reality was, like, a huge, like, culture shock or, like, a
yeah.
travel slap in the face. I'm like, okay, people who are posting like, even things in Europe that we do where we, like, wanna go to Neuschwanstein and see a castle, it's like, they don't tell you the hike that you gotta do to get to these places and all these things, they just show the view.
Yeah. No, it makes it's a classic, like, it looks a lot easier than it actually is. So that I appreciate that though. Like, thank you for mentioning that because, you know, it's so easy to see all of these like Insta-worthy places and people, but then there isn't always I'm not gonna say anybody posting that isn't authentic, but like just
Mhm.
appreciating that authenticity of like, "Listen, this was amazing, it's worth going, but let me really break it down and share the realities of this," right? So it's, again, just the Instagram versus reality type of
Yes, yeah,
thing.
exactly, and I think that's why I was so disappointed by Bali is because, like, I was following all these influencers, and I thought it was just gonna be like this, like, bikini heaven with all these, like, beach beds that you're just
Right.
lounging on and all these things, and, like, that at least where we
Mhm.
went, that wasn't the vibe, and I was like, "Man, okay," but I actually was, like, kind of happy to have
Yeah,
that experience. A little bit because, like, it just gives you perspective, and you also just, like, learn so many different things about your taste of what you
definitely.
like when you travel, what's important to you, all these different things.
Yeah, all those learnings that you take with you and it really shapes how you travel. You learn a lot about yourself for sure. Okay, so after this, it sounds like you went back to Germany. Have you been there ever since, or was there a period where you, like, went back to the US for a bit, or, like, just walk me through that?
Yeah, so by the time that was done, it was, like, end of fall of the year, and, I stayed in Germany with my husband for about a month before I went back to the US because at that point, like, we had no money, we didn't have a plan, and his plan was he had quit his job in the US and was like, "I'm not working back there again, I'm gonna work
Okay.
here." And so we didn't know exactly how we were gonna, like, combine our lives together. So I went back to the US and got another job,
Mhm.
and then I worked there for, like, a year and a half to save up money because I knew my end plan was to live in Europe and to be together, and we wanted to live in Germany so we could do European travel, and so I was like, "I just need a job so I can save up money for like a
Yeah.
year, and then I'm gonna quit that job again, and then that's what I that's what I
Oh,
did.
mhm.
So then I had to quit another job, and that was actually like a I mean, you it was a lot easier, like, I was so stressed over, like, quitting this
Yeah.
job, but, like, they replace you so quick that it's like and at the beginning to go on the backpacking trip, I was so out of the whole planning process, I was so stressed about quitting my job,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "I'm a bank teller, like, this really isn't like, that's not gonna I shouldn't not go on this experience and this adventure or, go move to the country to be with the love of my life
Yeah.
because I'm afraid to quit my job, like, it's a 5-minute conversation, and yes, it gives you anxiety, but after that, like, then you're
Your
gonna
love
go live in
lost,
Europe,
like, I
like
know, and then you're, like, gonna go live this
yeah.
dream life, it's amazing. I think a lot of people too, like, I'm again, I can empathize with this in terms of going through it and, like, losing that sense of security and that paycheck and all of the things that, and here, like, healthcare, all the things, and it's scary, but of course, going to Europe, much different healthcare system out there, so, like, that
Mhm.
that helps. But okay, so talk to me about that and officially making that leap and what that looked like for you, and then also, like, assimilating into that culture, and also, did you know German at the time?
Yeah, no, didn't know German. I'm
It's a
still
tough
not even
language.
fluent in German. Yeah, it's not super easy, but so, like, being on our backpacking trip, that totally opened up my mind because 'cause you're meeting all these other
Yeah,
people and, like, seeing how other people are sustainably doing this. Because there's some people, not everybody we met was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go back and have a job." There are people who, were digital nomads, and I was meeting other people who, like, had their own business, and so the more I had those experiences and conversations with people, it kinda had that in my brain to where I was like, "Okay, what can I experiences and services and skills do I have to where I could somehow do something for
mhm,
myself?" And, so the job that I had gotten that was at the same bank, but I was working downtown and I was, the executive
okay,
assistant. And then, like, I just started researching online because, as I said, so my husband works in the airline industry, and so his job is just to travel. And so my thing was, okay, for me to move to Europe, I wanna be flexible because if I'm moving there to travel, like, I'm not just gonna then work my life in an office there. Like, I get
defeats
that
the
you get more
purpose,
vacation there,
like
but if you're going to Paris all the time and you're going to Prague and all these places, like, I'm not just gonna sit at
right,
home, that's not
how
gonna be
lame, like,
fun.
you want in on it too, like
Yeah, exactly, but then I also am super close with my family
Mhm,
and was like, also, if something happens or if there's a wedding or anything, I don't want then my reason to where I can't go back home is because I couldn't get my vacation
yeah,
approved, or I used all my vacation because I was traveling around here and now I can't go back
yeah,
home. And so my, like, end essentially, that's all just I wanted to be flexible and I needed to
love
be
that.
flexible. So I just started doing research as to what businesses are people starting these days, and I just came across virtual assistant, and I was like, "Well, like, I'm an
Like,
executive
I can do
assistant,
that.
so, like, I can do that
Yeah,
virtual?
it
Okay."
sounds like a dream.
And so it was like, after all the decisions I had made to, quit my job the first time, then do this backpacking trip and all the decisions I had to do there. Like, it was so easy. I was like online. This literally took me like an hour. I was online. I was reading these articles. I found this course and I called him up and I was like, "Hey, so it's a couple $100 for me to do this course to be like a certified virtual assistant. I think I'm going to do it and that's going to be my business and I'll move there in a couple months." And he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Boom." I bought it and then I just started doing the training and I like it was like a 6 months type of
Uh-huh.
course. And then by the time I was done with that, I was like, okay, I booked a flight and I and I
That's
went.
unreal. I love this journey for you. Oh my god, this is amazing.
But, like, I'm not I wouldn't consider myself, like, a risk taker or anything like that, but then I look back through these things I did, and I was like, I kinda just did it. I
Just
don't
like
know. I think I had, like, my end goal in
yeah,
mind, and that has always been, like, Europe,
yeah,
Europe, Europe, and I just was like, a girl did what she had to
yes.
do to get
Kinda
over
like b
there.
I say this in the best way, blinded by ambition a little bit. Like, I feel very
Yes,
much that
yes.
way, and my husband, the lovely co-host of this podcast, who it'd be funny if he was in on this conversation right now. But I definitely I'm a little, like, head in the clouds, that's where I live. I live where you live, and
Yes,
he's a little
yes.
more realistic, and it's good. It's a good balance, but I'm just like, you have to be a little risky and, like, a little bit of the good crazy to, like, do some of this stuff. Otherwise, like we were saying earlier, it's so easy to not make it happen. There's always going to be excuses. And like, yes, of course, you want to be responsible in some degrees and maybe have a backup plan or whatever. But I know so many people that do it with no backup plan. It's ballsy.
Mhm.
But I also hear of so many times where it does work out. And it's like that risk reward. It's yeah,
Yes.
it's worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 100%. I mean, and during that whole year, I think I was probably working for, like, a year and, like, I don't know, 5 months or
Yeah,
something. So, like, I was
that's
saving up
great.
so much money during that time to be able to move, and, I wasn't like, my coworkers are getting Starbucks and Chipotle and all these things, and I'm like, "No, like, I'm doing everything I can to save money because I'm like, I'm trying to move out of the
Yeah,
country." So, like, I just was
adds
doing
up.
everything I could to try to save, and so I for that, I did need to have more of a plan, and obviously, like, with starting a business, I was like, "I don't know if I'm gonna get clients right away, how this is gonna
Yeah,
work." So, like, I definitely had a cushion, but, like, it worked out for me in the sense that, like, literally 2 weeks after I had moved over there, I got my first client, and then it all just, like, she told a friend, and she told a friend, and so, like, I didn't even really need to use that cushion at all. It just was, like, used on
and then you just
flights and just fun stuff.
oh my god, what a great problem to have. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna kinda ask you about this in terms of anybody here listening that's maybe interested in being a VA, because I know that there's a lot about that right now. I even considered it myself here and there. But can I ask, like, and you don't have to go into like too much detail about this if you want, but like, how did you get that first client and like what do those conversations look like? Like, because I think a lot of people maybe are interested in that, but then there's a lot out there that's like it doesn't always pay very well and things like that. And so, but an American salary and needing what you would need here, I imagine is very different than Europe. That's at least what John and I experienced when we were there. So, money goes different longer ways and depending on what country you're in. But yeah, can you just like walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, no, well, I 100% agree because I think, like, if I was living like, if me and my husband said we wanna live back in the US, like, that my business would look totally
Yeah.
different based on the things like, and the income that we have in
Mhm.
Germany, so, like, I totally get that. If I was doing it here, it would be, like, a totally different strategy, but, like, so how I got my first client was actually in a Facebook group.
Good.
It was, like, in a Facebook group, it was actually, like, a spiritual Facebook group, I think, I don't know, it was, like, some kind of, like, a weird people were just, like, talking about self-help books and, like, all these different things, and I just, like, was just talking to a girl, and I commented, and I was like, "Oh, I have a virtual assistant business," and she was like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to start my own business, so, like,
Let's
let's have a
talk.
call," and then that it just, like, happened really organically,
Yeah.
but it and I think back to, like, okay, if I was doing it now, would I do it differently? And part of me says yes, and part of me says no, because I think why I was able to be successful so quickly is because, like, I was unemployed and had all the time in the
Yeah.
world to sit there and to network and to, be talking to people and
Mhm.
to make those connections happen because, like, I mean, they also had to, like, I had just moved to a different
Yeah.
country and was like, "Well, I kinda need to now, like, I can't rely on savings forever, so I do need to, like, make things happen
Mhm.
here." So I think I also had, like, that ambition and drive of, like, this needs to
Yeah.
happen, and I don't know if I would have had that if I would have, like, been working full time and was thinking, "Okay, this can be a side hustle, and once it grows enough, then I'll quit my full-time
Yeah.
job." I think that probably is the more realistic thing to probably do
Yeah.
now, but I still wonder if I think to make that happen, you need to be someone who has, like, that ambition and the drive to be like, "Okay, I'm not just gonna, fall back on this and do it whenever I want to, like, this is something that I actually wanna strive
Yeah, it
towards."
has to be prioritized, and it's so tough. It is so tough
Yes,
with a 9 to
exactly.
5 or other or kids or, like, any other things you have going on, like, you kinda do have to treat it like your full-time thing even though it's not, and that can be so exhausting and it's tough, but again, I think that time and the effort and think again, the mindset shift, right, into that, like, "No, this is my full-time thing, this is, like, again, just keeping that goal in mind where you're just like, "Come hell or high water, this is happening." Like,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and even when I was going through the course, so, like, the course was teaching you, virtual assistant
Mhm.
skills, so, like, I had a lot of the skills, but to translate that virtually, working with clients who you aren't, like, sitting in office
Sure.
with, but it also, like, taught you the business side of things, and taxes, and health
Mm.
insurance, and how to send an invoice and get paid, and what I would do, I would work my 9 to 5, and I would come home, and then I had, like, a 6 to 10,
Oof.
and I would spend all my time, doing all these things to learn about doing this course and being a business owner and those things.
Yeah,
And so it did take me 6 months to complete that. And so it was 6 months of, having to be focused and, like you said, prioritize. But
yeah.
I think I think the work pays off. If you put the time in, then the work pays off.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my god, I mean, literally, yeah, completely as if moving does not change your lifestyle enough, like, here you are, and you do have that flexibility now, so it's like yeah, that it's I feel like it just requires so much patience and so much, like, eye
Mhm.
on the prize, to kind of, again, like, not have those expenses that, the going out to eat and everything. You have to be so diligent about that, and for an extended period of time, that's not easy for people, so kudos to you
Right.
for for doing that. Talk to me about that adjustment of living in Germany and, because it sounds like had you visited Germany at least before, but, like,
Yes.
shorter time period, so how was
Yeah.
that adjustment
I
living
had
there?
visited, like, I think maybe 2 or 3
Mhm.
times, with my husband before I had moved. I mean, and I just wanted to live in
Yeah.
Europe. I was like,
Like, I
"That's
don't care
we
where.
can live wherever." So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can go to Germany because my whole life, my goal was Paris. I
Mhm.
was obsessed with
Yeah.
Paris. So I was like, "I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna live in Paris." And then my husband at the time, he was working for Air France, and they were based in Paris, and so I was
Oh my
like,
god, kismet.
"Okay." So I think so in my mind at the time, I was like, "Okay, so we're moving to Germany, but, like, probably in a couple of years, we're gonna move to Paris." And that didn't end up happening. We're still in Germany, and I love Germany, and actually now I kind of am like, "I don't wanna move to Paris." I kind of like that Paris is, like, the fun place to
Yes.
visit. It's like, you have a different attitude when you live
Yeah.
there. And so, but when I had moved there, so I moved there, at the end of February, and it was February 2020, and good
Oh.
thing I moved then because literally 2 weeks after was when the borders
Mhm.
closed, and so that like a whole thing of itself of, okay, I just moved to this new country, and I need to, like, get assimilated and
Oh my
meet people and build my life here, but you couldn't go
can't.
outside and, all the things of what 2020
Oh,
was. So that actually was not a great time at all because, like, couldn't go out to restaurants and couldn't go to the mall and couldn't go and
right.
do things, and so it definitely was a struggle the first few months of it, and also that was when I was trying to apply for a visa because I didn't do that prior.
Mhm.
I was like, we just were gonna do that while I was there. We're like, "It's easier to do that while I was there," but then the government shut down, so I wasn't able to apply for
Oh
said visa, and it really was a whole mess, and, they denied me when I ended up applying for the first time. They had denied me, and it just turned into such a mess that I actually was like, "Okay, we're gonna pause on this because the rule is like you can be there for 3
yeah.
months out of a 6 months time
Mhm.
frame, and, because then we were like, "Okay," I think I applied under, to be, like, the self-employed
Uh-huh.
visa, and they denied me, and then I was like, "Okay, well, we can apply for the, like, the language learning visa." There's a visa you can get if you're, like, going to the new country to learn the
Okay.
language, and we were like, "Okay, let's do that," but there weren't any language
Oh,
classes open because it
God.
still was COVID. So, I was like, "Well, I have this business and I can be flexible." So then I spent the next 2 years, like, literally being in Germany for 3 months, and then I would go back to the US for 3
Stop
months, and
it.
Germany for 3 months, 3 months, and so, like, it was a good thing that I have now this flexible job, and then finally once, we got married in 2022, in
Okay.
September of 2022, so I literally was doing that until then, and then even once we got married, it still took a couple of months for them to, like, accept our marriage certificate and things,
Right.
and that was, like, a whole, like, 6-month of limbo. So, I will say the most difficult thing is, like, the bureaucracy
Yeah.
of it all, but I imagine it's like that no matter what
Yep.
country that you move to, and, like, once you get through that, then I think, it's a lot easier,
Yeah.
once you're settled and everything. But I also think in terms of that, if I wouldn't have had, like, the flexibility of my business to be able to travel back and forth, then I would have had more of that drive to be like, "We need to figure this visa
Yes.
out because I wanna be." But, I mean, just given the whole mental state of everything at that time, I was like, "I'm just gonna go
We
float
gotta
back
go
and
with the
forth for a little
flow a little
while."
bit too, and for 2 years, oh my gosh, that's intense, and thank God you were able to fly back
Yeah,
and forth, because like, then
yeah.
you'd have to, I guess, be out at least of Germany, but then, like, what country would you have gone to? And oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, so and, like, what was also so disappointed about that is because we, like, within our relationship, we're like, "Okay, we just got done doing long distance while
Yes.
we were apart, both working these jobs, and then
Ugh,
now we can finally live together, we can build our lives."
and
And then it was like,
COVID.
"Nope, now we're back to long distance."
They're like, "Joke's on you, that's cute. Here's another
Yes,
lesson
yeah,
in not
yeah.
getting too stuck on a plan." Oh my
Mhm,
god,
yes, exactly.
crazy. Well, okay, so since COVID, well, I guess there are still cases, but let's say the worst of it, God willing, knock on wood,
Yeah,
is over and you were finally able to really assimilate into it and and live there full time and everything. How was that adjustment for you? And also just like the distance between, friends and family and not going back every 3 months necessarily, right?
mhm.
Like just building a community, like how has that been for you?
Yeah, I have like what so when I first had done this move, we were living in a city called Stuttgart. And then from there, now we live in
Okay,
Cologne. And so
beautiful.
we had done that move for my husband's job as well. And so once we had gotten married and I was like, okay, now I'm like full time living here. That was in Cologne. And I just vibe with that city so
Yeah.
much more than I had done with the prior city. And also just, now giving the time that it was so much easier to go out and to meet people and to do all those things. And I think it actually worked out well for me to kind of be able to slowly
Mhm.
get myself into
Mhm.
it, because I would be in Germany, for 3 months, and I would then recognize the things that I was missing about the US, and then I'd be in the US for 3 months and I'd recognize the things that I missed about Germany, to where I was kind of able to, like, have a certain
Yeah.
perception about it. And could this sounds so weird, but, like, I would be in the US and I'd be like, "Okay, now I know the things that I missed while I'm in
Mhm.
Germany, so now I know to stock up on these things and have these things and have them
Yeah.
to bring them with me while I'm over there." And so it versus I feel like had I have been there and it was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be here
Is
for
it
I don't know
like
when I'm going,"
yeah.
and I had no idea that there really were all these things here and things like that, I think made it easier. But in terms of making friends, I joined this Facebook group called Girl Gone International, and they have a Facebook group like in all these
Oh,
different
that's
cities throughout the
awesome.
world. And so I joined that group, but instead of joining it as just like a member of, oh, I'm going to go to these events that people do, I was like, I'm not going to actually go to an event unless I plan the event. So I was like, I'm going to join and I'm going to be a community leader who's like planning these
Oh my
events. And so
god.
like I was new to the city. I had no idea really what restaurants to go to and everything.
Just flying blind.
I'm just gonna find them. But that also put me in the position to where I was like, I have to host an event every single month. So I have to go out and find these restaurants and things. And I feel like I wouldn't have done that if I didn't have that responsibility
Right.
or also that push to do that. And so that, had that I guess drive again for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna try a new restaurant every single month or things like
Yeah.
that. And then by doing those events, I started to like the girls who would come to that event. I'm like, obviously, we have similar interests because you also are into this restaurant or this wine bar or whatever. And so I was able to really organically meet friends, and now I have really good friends who are over there. And I don't that's not something that I stress about or think about all the time. Of like, it used to be, okay, oh my gosh, it's a Friday night, I would love to go get a margarita with someone or something. And that used to be something that I thought would really, like, hinder my quality of
Mm.
life over there. And it doesn't it d now I feel like I do have my core group of people over
Oh
there.
my god, you really do have to put yourself out there, and it can be a little
Yes.
scary and, and especially, like, it's so funny now being in, like, my 30s, it's just making new friends and things like that, it's just, like, I'm definitely not a no new friends girl, I am like, "Hi, I can welcome new friends," but I don't know, there's something about it that's just, like, different, you're in a different phase of life or whatever, but when you are in a new environment like that or new country, whatever, like, it's thrown into it, so I love that for you, though, like, it sounds like you put like, healthy pressure on yourself to,
Mhm.
to do that, and that's hard, and yeah, but it sounds
Yeah.
like not that COVID was, like, a good thing, but in terms of, like, easing you into it and kind of, like, maybe getting up the courage even to, like, not only just join a
Mhm.
group like that, it's easy to join a group and, like, go to something that someone else is hosting, but to host it yourself, like, again, good for you 'cause, like
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think it also helped with my mindset of I do wanna meet new people. I do wanna have a friend group here. And, when you're just at home in a studio apartment with your
Yeah,
husband, I was like, "Yeah, I can't just have you be my, like,
like, I love
center of
you,
my
but,
world
like,
over here." Like, I
I need
need
girl
friends
time.
and I need to build my own life. And it was difficult to kind of do it first in the process of meeting new friends because the friends that I have here in Kentucky and in the US are all friends that I've had since, like, middle school.
Yeah.
They're, like, lifelong
Yeah.
friends, so I haven't really, like, had to make a new friend
In a
in a
hot
while. It's
minute.
just, like, been my people, and we've just gone through life together,
Mhm.
and so it was also weird to meet new people, and it's like, you don't know all these other eras and stages of my life I've been through,
Yeah.
like, you're, like, meeting people where you're at now, and that's, like, a whole other thing, but it's cool too because it's also kinda cool to be like, "You know Europe Anna, you don't
Yes.
know US Anna and all my crazy ex-boyfriends and all these things that I've been through in the past, like, you know this
This
girl now," and
version.
that's all.
Oh, that's really special. No, I love that. And I was actually wondering in terms of these groups, is it a lot of other it sounds like it's mostly, if not all, women. Are they a lot of them from the US too or other countries, or what is that? I was just curious what that breakdown is.
Actually, no, I haven't met too many other girls from the US
Interesting.
from where I'm
Okay.
at in Germany. I think, because, like, Cologne isn't a big
Yeah,
expat
yeah.
city. I mean, it kind of is, but I think in Germany, it's mostly, like, in Munich and in
Right.
Berlin, where I think most other Americans are, or a lossa also, at a lot of, like, cities near the Air Force Base.
Good point.
So, where we were living in Stuttgart, there actually were a lot of Americans there because there's a lot of Air Force bases around
Okay.
there, or Army bases. So in Cologne, there's not really a lot of other Americans. I've met, actually, I think only, like, 2 or
Wow,
3
okay.
other Americans, but yeah, other than that, it's mostly, like, other people throughout Europe who,
Super cool.
have the passport that they can go live wherever.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So convenient. As
Mhm.
we start to wrap up, you had mentioned something about wine bars. And because John and I are obviously big into wine and work in wine, let's just finish up by talking about that. Can you talk to me about some of you mentioned
Yeah.
like previously before we got on and we're recording wine festivals? Please tell me about
Mhm.
that and German wine because I love German wine. We don't have it as much
Yes.
as I would like to, but yeah, you've had some fun with that. It sounds like.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so there's a big myth over here in the US that I had no idea about before I went to Germany. And over here, the Riesling is so sweet. The German Riesling is sweet. And I had always thought because of that, that Riesling was sweet and I didn't like German wines. And then I go over there to Germany, to the Mosel area where they make Riesling. And that's so my husband happens to be from the Mosel
Okay.
area. So we spend a lot of time there, and throughout all the wine tastings and things I've done there, Riesling is
No.
not sweet. It's actually, but I for some reason here, like, every wine bar I've been to in the US, if there's a Riesling on the menu, it's with the sweet
Yeah,
wines, and
it's
I do not like sweet wine at
yeah.
all. I am a dry wine girly, and so I love that over there, I can have dry
Yes.
Riesling. That's, like, my favorite thing that I love to show visitors that we have. I'm like, "You're gonna try 1, you're literally having Riesling from the source and from the river that it's from, and it's not gonna be
Yeah.
sweet." But, yeah, we are big wine fans. I mean, and how can you not when you're living in an area where there's so many different, like, world-class vineyards? And so the, wine fest season, so in Cologne, there's 2 really big wine festivals there. At the end of May, they do, it's called the Weinwoche, so it's, like, called Wine Week, but it lasts for 2 weeks,
Love
but
it.
so, like, great. And it's just, like, in the middle of the city square, there's just all these local vineyards who set up booths, and it's open from, like, 10 AM till 10 PM, and you just drink wine, and it's,
What?
like, $4 for a glass. I
Ugh.
mean, like, it's, like and you are drinking the, like, actual
It's like
local
from right
wine from the
there.
winemaker.
Yeah. Oh
Yes,
my god.
yes, it is awesome, and so they do that in May, and then they do one in August, but essentially, like, wine season, like, starts, like, end of May, and then it goes,
The
through
harvest, yep.
harvest in the fall, and so through all of those months, it's just all these villages and vineyards hosting
Oh, that
different,
sounds so
different wine festivals, and so literally what we do during that time is every weekend we're driving to these different wine
oh my
festivals
god.
and just doing our own wine tastings, and it's my favorite part about living there,
What
honestly,
a
is
dream.
the wine, and especially because we do so much around around the Mosel, and they have such amazing wine festivals there too. I mean, and the villages are so cute,
Yeah.
like, it's just to me, that is, like when I am there, I'm like, "I can't believe that I live in Germany because this is, like, the most beautiful place in the world. I'm drinking this awesome wine." I'm like, "Best life
Right.
ever."
You're just like, "I couldn't have, like, dreamt this if I tried," but you did dream it and are living
Mhm.
it now. So incredible. Oh my god, your story.
Are you all fans of German wine at
Yes, oh
all?
my god, totally. Again, we don't have it a lot, but both John and I are with you, like, no shade to sweet wines, but, like, we're not big sweet or you have to it's like there's a time and a place for it, right? Or it's like if you're
Mhm.
having it with something in particular, but no, we love dry Rieslings as well. Actually, honestly, I'm kinda sad John is not a part of this call right now because he could totally speak to German wine way better than I could and actually throw out, like, other varietals that I'm totally blanking on right now. But no, love German wine, and I mean, and also love wine festivals because, like, why not? And then those would be,
Mhm.
like, 2 to 3 times the price here, like, in California, where we it's
Yes,
like,
exactly, yeah.
it shouldn't.
And I mean, I don't live anywhere, you know, like, near the Napa Valley or anywhere that there's, like, big vineyards here in the US, but I had never heard of a wine
Mm.
festival before, like, do you is that something that happens here?
Yeah, I would
Do you
say so.
know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna speak for any other, state, but yeah, definitely, there's a lot of fun,
Okay.
and it's actually it does actually remind me a lot of kind of what you're mentioning, although I'm sure it's so much more, like, romantic where in Germany where you are in these ancient, like, towns and things like that, but I will say, there of course, there are so many big producers here and things like that, but there are so many more, like, mom and pop type of places or, like, some of the brands I work with are down in Santa Barbara or Anderson Valley,
Mhm.
which is, like if you're in Sonoma County, it's, like, north a little bit, and it's more off the beaten path, and, there are some amazing growers out there. It's, like, again, those lesser known places that
Yeah.
and it's, like, that's where it feels like, okay, it's smaller, it's not super commercial, it is a little bit cheaper, um it's a little more romanticized in that way, and I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
I'm so grateful to be, like, where we are." So, yeah, there's a lot there's some big ones for sure, but there's definitely smaller ones that are a little bit cheaper and are, like, more approachable to go to. But yeah,
Mhm.
but again, for any other state, I'm sure there are, like Texas has gotten really into wine, which I have thoughts on. The East Coast is as well. It's just very different styles. It just, depends on everyone's taste
Mhm,
profile.
yeah.
But
One other thing that I think is cool about the Wine Fest that I thought, they have there's a wine princess. That's
do
there. Like,
tell.
they crown yes, like, each vineyard crowns or, like, I don't know if it's each vineyard, but each village at least, because there's so many different that happen, crowns a wine
What?
princess, and I think they, like, vote for them, and then there's one who wins, and then she's the wine princess that goes to the events for the whole year, and I have made it my goal to become a wine princess. It will
Please.
never happen because there's a lot of rules, and I think you need to be you need to, like, be from the
Yeah.
village and have a connection to the like, I think you have to be, like, totally, like, German and, like, your family's lived there for, you know,
Generations
your
and
whole life, all these
yeah.
things. But, like, I think there's a wine princess, and then some places even have a wine king as well, and, like, it's a whole thing where you're, like, taking pictures
Oh
with
my
them and
god.
things,
Your
and
husband maybe?
yeah.
And then you can be a princess by default.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my god, we're missing out on that here completely. What are we even doing with our lives here? And that is so funny. That's my dream now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was, like, an awesome
That's
culture
so
shock that I
cool.
had, like, the wine fest itself, but then you're there and
It's
there's,
so
like, a
historic
wine
and like,
a
and we just don't have that here in the US. What's historic to us is like we're a baby compared
yeah.
to Europe. And that's like one of the things I love about it. Again, the culture, the history, the roots there. It's like, and you don't even have to like, of course, being from there is impactful, probably more impactful. But like for us that are newbies there, like you don't have to be from there to like feel that and experience that
Yeah.
that vibe, it's different. Oh
Yeah,
my
no,
god.
it's a totally different atmosphere. I'm obviously, like, addicted to it, and
Yeah.
I'm been trying to, like, convert all my family, and I'm like, "Anyone who wants to come," and so now
Please,
my
yeah.
family has gone had a couple visits, and, my older sister, so she has two little
Mhm.
ones, and she's terrified of airplanes,
Aw.
like, doesn't ever wanna travel, and so she finally made her visit, over the summer, and I was, like, so curious to be like, "Okay, like, is this gonna be, like, a once in a lifetime thing?"
Yeah.
Because that's how she always talked about going to Europe was, like, "It's gonna be the trip of my lifetime, and I'm gonna go, and, like, I have to do everything in one trip because I'm never gonna be able to go again." And now, like, she was calling me up and she's like, "So, like, Lennon has a week off of school around Thanksgiving, so I was thinking maybe, like, would you think I could go with her?" And I was
Duh! Like,
like, even like, everyone who comes is obsessed
oh,
and wants to know how to come back, and I always throw that in there when people think how like, "Oh my gosh, it's such a big trip, it's so far
yeah.
away, it's gonna take all this time," and I'm like,
It's not that
"I
bad.
used to do that multiple times a year when I had to go 3 months here and
Yeah.
3 months I if I can do it 4 or 5 times a year, then, like,
Yeah.
I think
It's
anyone
as
can. It's a lot, but, I mean, at least from Cincinnati where I am, I'm like, it's like an 8-hour flight,
yeah.
like, you go to sleep, they bring you wine,
Right.
you get delivered on the airplane, you watch some movies, and you're having a meal. I think it's some of the best 8 hours I've ever
I
had. I'm
love
on
it.
airplane mode, no one can contact me, I'm just sitting here drinking and chilling,
Girl,
like,
same.
what more could you want?
Yeah. No, it's so true. I feel like it says, and I don't wanna, minimize anyone who's really scared of flying. We have a family member as
Yeah.
well who well, it's my husband's dad. He'll never go to Europe, and then nor does he want to, and I'm like, "Okay, that's your journey. It's not mine." But I feel like it's as overwhelming as you make it. Like, the anticipation can be so much
Yes,
worse
exactly, yeah.
sometimes. So, yeah, all the things and more that you just said, it's like, the mindset. It's a big part of it.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but but worth every I know you're probably like a little, like, travel planner now a little bit too. Like, I always feel like that's how we are with
Yes,
our family. It's like,
absolutely.
"Okay, let me get to work, and figure out your."
Mhm. Yeah, but I think, once you do it one time and you know what it's
Yeah.
like, then I think that also takes a lot of, like, stress and anxiety
Definitely.
out of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and you have had some of the coolest experiences. I have loved walking through all of your 20s and all of your adventures and what you're doing now with you. If people wanna get in touch with you or follow along or whatever, where can people find you?
Yeah, so, probably on Instagram is gonna be the best. So I've got, like, a personal Instagram and then my work Instagram. So depending on if you're curious of the business side of things. So on the business side of things, I'm Anna Schild VA, and then on my personal side where I share more of my travels and just everyday things is, Anna Schild 817, I
Okay.
think. But
We'll
yeah,
put it in the show
regardless,
notes.
I'm happy to talk to anyone anywhere about travel because obviously I could talk about it all day
Obsessed.
long.
I know. Same. I could hear about all the adventures. I have so many more questions than we could even get to today, but thank you so much for just sharing your story. And again, I think this is so helpful for people here today that are maybe thinking about making the leap and just like things to keep in mind or, again, just little mindset shifts to maybe make to be like, okay, like I got this. Like maybe this isn't as, hard. And but being also very realistic about like, okay, yeah, bureaucracy could maybe get a little bit of the way or things like that, but it's just so worth it in the end. So, yeah,
Yes, yes,
I love it.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me because I love getting to share about it because
Yeah,
I never was someone people would expect to go and do all
I
these
love
things
that.
just based on who I was, and I'm still part of that person, but just how, your mind and your perception and
Look at
things
that
grow,
growth.
just
Yeah, exactly,
always
those challenges.
yeah.
I felt the same way when I was 19 and I first went because 'cause I'd never been to Europe until I was, like, 19. And I remember someone kinda challenging me a little bit at the time. It was actually an ex-boyfriend, and I was like, kinda like, I'll just show you," like, "Fine, I will go to
Mhm.
Florence," and it changed my life. So, and sometimes
Yes.
I'm just like, "Cool, thank you for that." Like, I don't know that I would have done it otherwise. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you
I
so
love
much
that.
for coming on today. I appreciate it.